Welcome to day 33 of our Lent readings for 2025 as we continue to look at the Psalms. Today we're looking at Psalm 133, which is only 3 verses long, but it will be familiar, I'm sure. So let's read together. How good and pleasant it is when God's people dwell together in unity. It's like precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down on the collar of his robe. It is as if the dew of Hermon were falling on Mount Zion, for there the Lord bestows his blessing, even life forevermore. Yesterday we looked at the subject of how success in the church is only down to the work of the Lord working within the church. This psalm follows on from that, looking at the blessing of unity. If a congregation is divided, there's little the Lord can do with them. For a congregation to be useful in God's hands, there needs to be unity. That doesn't necessarily mean that we must all be clones of one another. Unity isn't necessarily uniformity. The church is a place of great diversity, and Jesus unites us together from all sorts of cultures and backgrounds, experiences and traditions. What we mean by unity in the church is that we have in common the core belief of the gospel. We seek together the direction that the Lord is leading us, that we work together with a common purpose, valuing each other's contributions. One thing that can seriously hinder this, even to the point of dividing the church, is jealousy. Someone's not happy with their part, but looks at someone else's ministry that is blossoming, and rather than give thanks that God is blessing them and the church, they allow jealousy to creep in. In their minds they complain that they pray more, they are more gifted, and they have a greater grasp of theology, so why are others getting the opportunities and not them? Maybe they start to question the method being used as worldly or unbiblical, when what they really should be doing is giving thanks for God's grace to others. Maybe it's a personality clash. Maybe it's just that they do things differently. That can be a particular cause of friction in a congregation that's got a great deal of cultural diversity. Maybe some people do things unconventionally. But beware just writing a whole ministry off as not of God without a serious prayerful consideration. Yes, there can be false teaching and heresy in the church, and for this we desperately need discernment. But sometimes just because a ministry doesn't fit into what we would expect doesn't mean it's not of the Lord. 2 examples from Acts come to mind. The first is in Acts 11, when the church in Jerusalem hear that some believers are ministering to Greeks in Antioch. At this point, the gospel had only been preached to the Jews. They send Barnabas to check it out to see if it really is of God. And what he sees so convinces him, though it's not what he's used to, he goes to find Paul, and together they disciple the young converts into a church which will go on to be the first missionary sending congregation in church history. The second is in Acts 18. Apollos appears in Corinth and preaches with great effect and influence, but it's clear that he hasn't got all his theology right. 2 mature believers, Priscilla and Aquila, rather than feel threatened or write him off, take him under their wing and explain the way of God more accurately so that his ministry could develop further. This is often a vital work for the growth of the church. Someone with enthusiasm and power, but lacking the deep understanding of biblical truth, encounters a mature believer who might lack the energy of new faith, but has a great depth of biblical understanding. Together they join together rather than writing each other off. When the church unites and brings all its diversities together as a strength, then Psalm 133 tells us God commands a blessing. And Jesus' prayer of John 17:11 is answered, that we might be one. Until next time, have a blessed day.